This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
This team of pups will come and save the day. Marshall, Bubble, Chase, Rocky, Zuma.
All right, Place to Be Nation, welcome to the premiere episode of PTBN's DadCast. I am JT Rozzero. I'm sure you've heard me on many of other podcasts here on the Place to Be Nation network. But I wanted to be here for the launch of this brand new show, one we've been wanting to do for a while. A lot of us here at the website and on the podcast are fathers with daughters or sons or both or hybrids, whatever. And we always have a lot of stories that we share back and forth and frustrating stories. A lot of us are around the same age, so we're kind of growing into this parenting thing together. And I think we have a lot of good stories to tell. And some of our rantings across social media and other podcasts going to be explored here on a regular basis. And again, this show is going to have rotating hosts. May not always be me, may be one of the many others across the PTBN network, but I do have someone brand new with me here tonight. He's a longtime fan of the site and a longtime friend of mine. Became fathers around the same time. I've known him for about 20 years now, which is sad, but exciting. And he's making his debut on PTBN. My longtime, good time, close personal friend, Don Carrara. Don, how are you?
Good, buddy. Thanks for having me. It's a long time coming. I can't wait to launch this chat we're going to have tonight about some interesting things now that we are both fathers with two kids.
Yes, both are two kids, and I guess we'll start really at the top for those who may be new to the show. So I have a daughter that's going to be 5 in a few weeks, and a son that will be 2 a couple weeks after that. So, and your daughter is going to be 6 this year, right?
She's going to be 6 in June, and we have a 7-month-old also. So that's pretty exciting. It's parenting all over again. But I will say that, you know, it does get easier. People said that before it happened, and I have to concur just a bit there, you know?
Right. So it's interesting time. Now, we're about the same age. Don's a little older. But we've kind of gone through this together, trying to pick up the pieces of how to parent. And, of course, a big part of parenting these days is television. I mean, and people will talk about it, how you should limit screen time and whatnot, but it's inevitable. Even our pediatrician talks about it often. It's a screen world, whether it's a phone, an iPad, a TV screen, a computer screen, a monitor, and it's going to exist. So it happens. You try and limit it best you can, but it's there. There's going to be weeks where they're sick or weeks where you're sick, and there may be a little bit more. There's going to be weeks in the summer when you're out playing games and you're out at camp or at school or whatever, and you won't have as much. But what led us to this launch to finally get this thing off the ground tonight was our shared love-hate relationship with Paw Patrol. And you may have seen this if you follow me on Facebook. I've had some comments recently, and the most recent one really blossomed to quite the discussion around this show, Don. So take a minute for me and tell me how you first discovered Paw Patrol and what your daughter's kind of relationship with it is.
Oh, God. You know, when she really started to discover TV, maybe like 2 years ago when she was really looking at different shows, I think we just stumbled upon it on demand, and this kid fell in love with Paw Patrol, and, you know, it was her go-to show. I mean, she started off with the Doc McStuffins, but nothing compares to Paw Patrol. I mean, she can watch episodes multiple times over. We actually have it set to DVR, just every episode. We only have a 5 limit one, so they just start deleting, but they're always there because she absolutely loves it, doesn't get sick of it, knows the whole story, can tell you plot points and all these characters and conflict, and these are all the things she's learning in school also. So I do see some, you know, educational value in this too, but I agree that sometimes it's one of those that becomes a little too time consuming, but you don't have a choice, you know, when you get sick and whatnot, as we said.
Yeah, the whole thing's a big work. I mean, so they, you know, it's a genius idea because it's so easy to buy into if you're a kid. Kids love dogs. They love talking dogs. They love fantasy worlds. They love, you know, wild adventure stories, and they love toys. And this show has produced numerous amounts of toys. And they were genius in the way they went about it, because each of these dogs drives a fucking customized car, and they have a customized trailer to put the customized cars in. They have a hideout, a lookout tower. So, I mean, there's like plenty of accessories to go along with the figure. So, I mean, it's genius branding. But before we get into the show itself, I wanted your take on how your kids consume TV, because I find it very interesting, and I don't know if it had to do with the age this year with Christmas, because everyone kept asking me, like, what's the big toy your daughter is into this year for Christmas? And I couldn't really come up with one because I feel like she doesn't watch TV to see commercials because everything's on demand for them. Like, she doesn't know what television is. Every now and then, if we watch something live, she's like, what's this commercial? I remember we watched the Macy's parade, and she was like floored by having to wait through all these commercials because they don't live in that world. I mean, everything is on demand. Roku, either Netflix or the Disney Junior app or the Nick Jr. app, which is, by the way, they finally fixed. It was like the worst fucking app ever created. It was so goddamn slow, and you couldn't figure anything out with it. I had to keep rebooting it, and they must have did some update finally. But I feel like between that and on demand, like, that's their world. Are your kids the same? Well, is your daughter the same way?
Well, as I said, we have that on the DVR, and we do on demand. We kind of go between both, but with that show, it's always something that's on the DVR, so the commercials will run, and she's definitely paid attention to the commercials and all the products that they gear towards this specific demographic, and she's actually gotten to understand some of those commercials and actually recite them, which is kind of scary. But, yeah, the same thing coming back to on demand where, it's very few interruptions. It really likens to where we are as a culture with the millennial generation and information right at your fingertips. Not a lot of, inquiry and problem solving. And that's what I want to try to avoid with my kids when they get older. Not to say that TV's like so horrible, but, we do try to limit it as best as possible. But I definitely agree with you that it's a much different generation than when we were growing up and we had to wade through commercials, couldn't fast forward any of that stuff. So much different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be DadCast pro tip number 1 here, and the legacy of the show is use on demand and use Netflix or apps and avoid those commercials. Maybe it'll save you obsessing over a toy or something like that for at least a little bit longer. It's funny because I feel like we're the last generation that really understands the struggle of TV. I feel like the generation that came after us, cable was already in full effect. By the mid-'90s, 24-hour channels were more prolific, prevalent. DVDs came out shortly after that. I feel like we're the last generation that understood what life was like without cable or when TV would end at the end of the night, unless you watched like QVC like me to fall asleep to, because everything else ended. I mean, they'd throw up the flag, they'd play the national anthem, and that would be the end of the night.
I remember that, yeah.
And I remember being miserable when that happened, and that's why I started to eventually rely on like public access and the home shopping channels, because those just ran all night, or at least later. And I'd fall asleep many nights to QVC just watching whatever random nonsense was on. So I feel like we're an interesting mix of understanding the technology because we grew up when they created a lot of it, but also understanding how great it is because of the limitations we had before, not having the ability to watch whatever we want whenever we wanted, having to wait a week to watch something or wait till 6 o'clock to watch Saved by the Bell, stuff like that, and sit through all the commercials. So again, not to, back in my day, everyone, but it feels like as parents, maybe we might be the last group to really understand the gravity of, hey, this is why this shit is so cool.
And if I can just like work off of that, just thinking about Paw Patrol and all these other kid shows that are on today, the animation looks so damn good. I mean, it's, a couple steps below like what you'd see in like a Pixar movie, but it's that same type of animation, that very almost 3-dimensional, whereas, we're growing up, what is it, Inspector Gadget and
right.
Masters of the Universe and DuckTales and Rescue all that shit. And you're right. It was like, okay, it was on at this certain time. You either had to be there or, record it on the VCR. Now it's just like where we have that on demand, we have streaming. It's kind of scary that everything is at our disposal. And if you want to watch, adults included, if you want to watch an episode of something, you almost have every opportunity to find it. I mean, even if you borrow somebody's, login information, you can watch anything that you miss.
Was that a dig? Amazing. Was that a dig? The login information. The DuckTales is coming back, by the way, so that might have to be a future episode. One of the I'm making. I don't know if it's gonna be as good, but at least the theme song I would think will be back. Unless they might new metal it up, which is stupid. Hopefully they just leave it as is. All right, so let's talk about Paw Patrol.
Let's do it.
Let's start at the top with the theme song because you heard it in the open here. It is honestly one of the most absurdly catchy cartoon theme songs. And they hit all the beats. I mean, whoever created it and crafted it, and I'm not talking about the band that played it, whoever came up with the format of the song was genius as well. And I'm going to credit the creators of this thing a lot because I think they did a fantastic job with the marketing aspect of went into the thinking behind the show. But the song, it names all the characters, so you're never going to forget who they are. It gets the idea of the show right out of the gate. It's Paw Patrol. You know what it's about. There's paws, so there's some kind of animal involved, and they're patrolling something. And then they talk about it, Adventure Bay. So, you know, there's like adventure involved, there's fun involved. And then boom, Chase, Ryder, Zuma. Yeah, they go right through all the names.
Rubble, Chase, Zuma, Sky, we're on the way.
Right. Yeah. So, you know what's going to happen as soon as you get in. And the beat is so catchy. And then it goes right into the show. Boom, we're right into the action. And they split it into 2 stories, which is always good too, because you keep the story quicker.
Yep.
And they do the billboards. You kind of like, I remember Ninja Turtles was always big with the billboard before this.
Good point, yeah.
Remember they would list the name of the story and then have like a picture to describe it. I think that's important too, because it kind of lets you know what's coming as a kid. So it to me, the theme song and the setup was very well crafted. You agree?
I do, especially with the theme song, because they also integrate the theme song throughout each episode in a quick moment when they go up to the lookout.
Oh, we're gonna spend a lot of time on the.
And Ryder gives them their mission, and then here comes the theme song as they're going down and getting into their respective vehicles. I mean, it's about as formulaic as you get.
But see, that's the genius too, because they save in the creative effort, because it's the same fucking picture every time. When they come down the chute into the car, they can just recreate that. Like, they save those animations and just edit them in. Like, they don't even need to redo those scenes ever, because they have them in the can. And if you look, the dogs don't even move when they go in the fucking car. I want to save that. We'll get to when they load into the cars.
Do they ever save, because, you know, Ryder says the same things too, like the Paw Patrol to the lookout, and hello, pups, and
Ryder needs us. It's all the same. I mean, they say the same shit. Oh, yeah. So I think of a lot of it is probably canned, and they just kind of create the, ancillary pieces to finish out the story. But even when they're, Chase always says reporting for duty, it's always the same thing. All right, so let's talk about the characters, because we're getting here now. So Ryder is the leader of the troop. Who is Ryder? Like, where do you think he came from? They obviously live in Adventure Bay, which my theory is that's in upstate New York, because it was created by a Canadian company. I'm pretty sure it's America, because they don't have Canadian accents, and I don't think Canadians are as wily enough to create a situation like this. I do think Canada is backwards enough to have these mayor tropes, like, this evil mayor, like with the twiddly mustache and the top hat. Like, that's Canada to me, but I don't think, I feel like this is like way upstate New York. Like, there's a lot of bays up there, so like Alexandria Bay, like there's a bay area. So I feel like it's like right on the border of Canada.
Well, unless they wanted to appeal to both sides, we got some Canadian influence in there. We have the United States.
The dim-witted characters. That's like the Canadian.
It could be. I don't want to stereotype, but sure. Okay. I did notice one accent on it. Maybe we can see when we watch the episode. That might be Canadian. We can see if you agree with me. I'll keep it, at Adventure Bay, until I had to use it.
That's okay. So do you agree that it's probably that area?
Yeah, that's what I would say, because, if they're trying to have influence over both types of audiences, and it's definitely been a big hit, they probably want to put it in some neutral area that, okay, Canadians can claim, oh, this is for us, and Americans can claim the same thing.
Sure. I mean, they do a lot of winter episodes. Everest lives in the mountains. So, at first I thought you may think it's like Southern California or something, or, I mean, I guess like Colorado is possible, but I feel like upstate New York feels like the setting for this show.
Let's just go with that.
Okay, perfect. So Ryder, he's got to obviously have access to a lot of funds, because he's creating these gadgets and gizmos. He purchased the land to build the lookout. He bought a tractor trailer that he refurbished into a like James Bond villain-esque, piece of machinery. He has these tricked out cars that dogs can drive. Now remember, dogs can't steer cars, so they're driving these things like with their fucking minds or something. So, I mean, these things are really, really high tech. Like, where is he getting the money to? And the biggest thing is when they go before the mission, and he hasn't even seen like the scenario. So like Don calls, and Don is hanging from a tree off a mountain over Niagara Falls, because we're in upstate New York, and he's able to diagram this on a map in the lookout, like with stick figures. Somehow he knows exactly what everything looks like, and he animates it as it goes. So, like, I mean, this is like next level technology. This is like sci-fi level technology that maybe exists somewhere high up in the military, but I don't think it exists in real life. So, where the fuck is he getting this money? Is it drugs? Like, what is he doing? Where is he?
And he's all of how old? We're talking like what? 12, 14,
Right.
maybe. That's what I would say.
Unless
the
he's a
range
little
was.
person. That's the only thing I can think of.
It
is,
could be,
yeah.
but I always I've always thought that too.
His
Like,
legs are a little long for that. But
the realism, I mean, definitely goes out the window. But as adults, and it comes back to some things Justin said earlier, when you watch enough of these, you start analyzing all of the flaws because that's what we do as adults and parents and stuff we miss that when we're kids. You know, we go back and watch all those older things we used to watch, and we can pick those apart too.
like how he changes jackets from scene to scene. Like sometimes he's got the vest on with the turtleneck, the white turtleneck, and sometimes it's a jacket. Like it's a scene to scene, like that.
Yep. And I guess if kids were really like identifying that and pointing out those, and my child's very observant. I'm surprised she hasn't, but then the show would not be doing the job it's supposed to do, which is really to clearly entertain through colorful characters. And you know, as you mentioned earlier, kids love puppies, dogs. I mean, I almost look at them as puppies actually too, not full dogs. I don't know. We can get into that too, but
I don't know what they're like asexual beings or something. I mean, it's weird. Yeah, I guess they're not dogs. Yeah, they're pups. I mean, he calls them pups. It's weird. I get so much to talk about because I want to talk about how do we get to the point where a town is relying on these fucking dogs to save everything? But
and they keep making the same mistakes.
Right, yeah.
The same people keep getting into jams. That's my issue later because I really don't like some of these cartoons that are out there today because they do make adults seem like they're very, very dumb.
Yeah, and many are. In fairness, I mean, the inauguration was today, so I mean, there were many, many dumb people in this country. Sure. But you know, if you look at Ryder, so he's getting this money from somewhere. Maybe he inherited it. I don't know. Someone's helping him create this. So is there an overlord that Ryder reports to that we haven't seen yet? Like, they never say where this comes from and how they came into power in this town. Like, I mean, is it like the Truman Show? Did they create this town?
We need an origin story.
Right.
You know, we need that background, but here we are as adults. We need that.
We need the Rogue One of Paw Patrol. Like, how do they get Ryder to this planet or wherever this fucking town?
We need some prologue here.
Right? Like, I mean, where did he come from? Do you have any idea? Like, can you piece together anything for me?
No, I've been trying to figure it out for years because no one really seems to fucking say anything. Like, everybody relies on this kid, and I'm going to call him that, and his pups, to, you know, fix the situations. Any of the problems that are there, they can always fix. I'd love to see them actually get into a jam one time where they don't know what the fuck to do. Right. But
you think they'll snuff one of them?
You know, we laugh at that. I used to say that when my daughter watched Doc McStuffins, and I said, you know what I think would be really good and a good teaching moment is if Doc McStuffins could not save one of those toys, and it actually like there was kind of like a kid's malpractice going on there. And I'm not trying to get dark, but if we want to teach kids about life and death, what better way than some of these shows? Throw a little twist in there, you know?
So then she like questions herself and quits the practice and
just to go, you know, get more of that self-awareness, find that identity, and you know, just keep on trucking.
I mean, that's what happens when they graduate from Disney Junior to Disney Channel. Like, something terrible goes wrong, and they give up on their childhood dreams, and, like, she gets hooked on crack or something. And then she gets a Disney show instead of a Disney Junior show.
Oh, man.
But, so anyway, we have Ryder. He's somehow a multi-billionaire tech wizard. Do you want to do the adults first, or do you want to talk about the dogs first?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I guess the pups are the main character.
Let's do the
right?
pups, and then, you know, maybe we'll get into the adults.
All right, so we got Ryder. I mean, so we got Ryder. So then we got, I guess the leader is Chase, right? I mean, okay. So one of my
Chase is on the case, buddy.
Yeah, the police officer. They clearly make him the lead dog. Him and his fucking police van and his winch that he uses in every episode. And the other day on Facebook, I made the correlation between Paw Patrol and Beverly Hills 90210. So I'm gonna carry that through this episode and say who I think all these characters would be in the world of West Beverly. So I think Chase is Brandon Walsh. I mean, he's the alpha dog, no pun intended. He's kind of the best looking pup. Maybe he's the smartest guy out there. He's always a guy Ryder brings along to almost every mission. He's the straight arrow who's, you know, you may have the gambling problem every now and then, but he's really gonna lead you on the right path in the end. So you agree then that Chase is the...
Oh, without a doubt.
Chase is the ace.
He's the face of the franchise. I mean, you look at all the product placement, well, products, I should say, and merchandise out there. He's on every single one. Even, you know, I even think there was like a toy out there with Sky and Everest, the two females, and I think he was in there. He got himself in there somehow. But I see a lot of stuff regarding him out there. Definitely Chase and Ryder, top two. Yeah.
So there we go. So I mean, next then I think we have Marshall, who's kind of like, he always tries hard, comes up a little short. He always screwing around. And I saw some people commented that they felt offended that they made the fireman like kind of the stooge. Yeah. But he means well. He's trying hard, but he's always slipping on the banana peel. He's kind of the joker of the crowd. So I compared him to Dylan. He's not as brooding as Dylan, but you're not going to get brooding characters in a show like this. So I thought he was Dylan because, to me, he's the second lead character, but he's got more flaws than Chase. So Chase is like, Brandon was always the perfect male, and Dylan was always the flawed guy that the ladies love. So I see Marshall as like the lovable, flawed pup. But he's still lovable because he's a firefighter, and the chicks are into that. So there's a lot to like about him, and he always gets the job done in the end, but he's kind of a goof.
Yeah, this is a great assessment because, I mean, breaking it down by Beverly Hills 90210 characters, I think your audience will actually start to understand, like, okay, how these people function. Because when you posted that, I was dying. I was at work, and I had some downtime. Don't tell anybody. But I was like, oh, my God, yeah, he's right, especially when you're thinking about the love triangle with Sky. Is that where you're going next? We're talking about Sky?
Sky next.
I like Sky.
Well, yeah, of
yeah,
course.
she's great.
You're a guy, she's a girl. There's a lot to like.
She's a pup.
But, yeah, so we have Sky, who's, for a while, was the only female, which drew a lot of ire. I was reading up on this. There's a lot of angst out there that there was only one female in the group, which led to another character that we'll cover in a few minutes. So Sky is presented as kind of the, I don't want to say, again, perfect pup on the female side, but she's another one that comes in, never really botches anything, is always gung-ho about the adventure. She's adventurous. She's the only one that takes to the sky. Her patroller is a plane, yep. So she goes up there and takes care of stuff from the air. And I just envision the way you see everything, set up is that Chase and Marshall are constantly trying to impress Sky to see which one of them can bang her. I mean, that's, to me, so God. She is the Kelly Taylor of the show. She is the main, the hot blonde that everyone wants, but really the big infection is from these two guys. Chase, who's the perfect person, probably is the best fit for her because the alpha dog's at the top. But you know what? Marshall's there too with his flaws, someone that she can mother, someone she can fix and help, bring along and nurture a little bit. So I think there's something to that too. So I think, to me, that is the three main characters from a, love triangle and ace point of view.
And I think, too, building off of what you said about Marshall as the goof, and I'm even thinking of that episode where they have him dress up like the sheep. Remember that?
Yeah.
To figure out why the fence is getting broken. Some big conflicts in the show. But I look at Sky, and this could be the stereotype because people usually seem to think that females are more level-headed. They have their head on right. We're kind of impulsive in some of decision-making as men. So that will definitely support, because I feel she's definitely the most logical there from watching this from an adult's perspective again. So if they had more female pups on a regular basis, not including Everest, who appears, you wonder, would people say, oh, there's too much saturation? Because could you have two females doing the same thing, and would people criticize that because there's no diversity amongst them? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, this is where we get into maybe killing off one of the dogs, so then you can replace her with another female.
Might have to happen.
All right. So then I think next on the chain is Rubble. He's kind of the brute, kind of the goof, another goof, but he's like a man-child in a way. He's very into the superhero stuff, into the TV show, and he's another reliable one. He goes on a lot of the missions. He drives the digger, so I think he's big with a lot of probably male children that see that, because he's just kind of rough and tumble. I know my son is big into Rubble because of that. He loves trucks. So I think Rubble...
He's rough and tough.
Right. So I picture him as being, whereas Marshall's number 2, I picture Rubble being like Chase's best bud. It seems like they talk a lot. They're together out. Yeah. So to me, he's Steve Sanders, right down to the blonde. He's got the yellow. So, I mean, he's kind of like, he's kind of cute enough to maybe land a hot chick every now and then. But, he's a fuck up a lot of the time, and he's kind of a child. So I picture him as being the Steve Sanders.
Do you think there's any significance to the fact that they made him a bulldog? Because sometimes bulldogs can be looked at as kind of like ugly looking. But I agree with you. I think he is adorable. But also, we think of bulldogs. If we're trying to equate that with intelligence, they don't seem like they're that smart.
Right. And Steve Sanders was projected as a dumbass too. I mean, and he was, and he kind of looked like a bulldog. So if you look at it like that, he's kind of like, he's effective enough to help in the cause, but he's never going to lead. Whenever Rubble leads the way, something like they have to call the rest to save him because he does something he can't do it himself to that level. And Steve always needed Brandon to save him in the end. So I picture Rubble to be Steve. All right, so then that brings us to Rocky, who really doesn't get much run at all. He's the recycling guy who drives a garbage truck, but they're never cleaning garbage. So like I don't know what the hell he does. He does bolts and stuff sometimes, like. And I don't know if he's their attempt at diversity because he's a gray dog. So I don't know if he's like meant to be.
I was actually just thinking about diversity in that. Oh my God, you read my mind because thinking about Zuma,
right,
who's brown. And I actually echo what you just said. I still do. I get Rocky and Zuma confused.
Right.
To me, they're interchangeable. They don't really stand out for me. I'm not sure if that's an issue on the animators.
What does Rocky do? Like, why do you need a garbage man dog to help you out?
I'm not sure. Again, that's why I was always like, I think they could probably get by with 5 of these pups, maybe 4. But those 2, I still, to this day, again, I get them confused because the other ones, and you've likened them all to specific
I'm not done.
Main characters from 90210. I know where you're going to go. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So Rocky is David Silver because he's ultimately forgettable. He's buddies with Rubble, Rocky and Rubble. They're kind of always left behind, maybe, and they're into the cartoons and stuff. David is kind of, if he's not in an episode, you don't really miss him. He's just kind of there. He's maybe a little bit younger, not as experienced. So I picture Rocky as David Silver because I feel like he's kind of along for the ride in many ways. David wasn't part of the gang in the early 90210s. He had to work his way into the group. Rocky kind of feels that way to me too. Like maybe he was Rubble's cousin or something that came for the ride. So, and then Zuma to me is like Andrea because like no one really gives a shit about him. He's just there.
I forgot about her.
Yeah, I mean, so
I was ready to say Nat from the Peach Pit.
No, we'll get to Nat.
Actually, no, I think I have a Nat. Yeah.
So I think Nat Basiccio. I think Zoom is Andrea because just no one really gives a shit about Andrea and no one really gives a shit about Zuma. They're there sometimes. They're kind of good at what they do, but you don't really care about them. They're kind of unneeded. So that buckets all them. So that leaves us with Everest, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Everest came along later because I think they felt like they needed to add another female, and she doesn't always live with them. I don't think she lives with them at all, right? She lives up in the mountains with Jake.
She does.
So in my mind, Everest is Brenda because Brenda was kind of there sometimes and kind of not. She's the other female. She lived in Minnesota. Everest lives up in the snowy mountains. So like she's not, with the crew all the time. She kind of got pushed out the door when, she got screwed over by Dylan for Kelly. So to me, Everest lives up with Jake, who is probably that professor that she dated at West Bev or whatever. So to me, that's the.
You are well versed in 90210, buddy.
Yeah, well,
I'm getting a crash course on this. I forgot about it.
We got a lot to talk about in the world. That's another hour and a half at least. But anyway, so I don't think the Everest Brenda one's as strong as the other ones, but that's the only one I can really piece together for Everest. But what are your thoughts on Everest? Does she seem forced to you, or do you like the fact that they have this kind of ace in the hole they can go to when they're up in the mountains?
No, I actually loved the appearance of Everest because I mean at that point I was sitting down and watching quite a few of these shows from beginning to end. So when Everest came about, and I think they actually previewed her through a commercial, and like we're going to introduce Everest. So my daughter got so excited. I think we had to DVR that episode, and I thought that was great because it allowed them to get out of Adventure Bay for a little bit, change the location, change it up, and I honestly think that was the creators and animators' way of saying, even though this is for kids, we have to switch this up a little bit. We need to infuse some new blood, and they also did that with Tracker, who is the jungle pup. I don't know if you.
Yeah. I've seen like one with him. Is he in full time or is he just?
No, he's another Everest go-to in another location, and I think it's just to get them out of their comfort zone, and I think maybe to get the audience out of their comfort zone and keep the parents sane. Like, all right, we have some new characters here.
Maybe Valerie, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if Tracker has a direct comp. I do think that Ryder is my Jim Walsh because he's kind of the father of all this bullshit. Somehow he deals with it. Jake is really annoying to me. He's kind of got the surfer dude thing going on, but he's not a surfer dude. He's a ski dude. He causes a lot of these fucking problems with stupidity too. It's like, hey, Ryder, I need your fucking help up in the mountain. But he's got Everest right there. Like, how does he always get in these situations where he still needs help? Would you live in a cabin up in the snowy mountains if you constantly got into these death situations? Like he's on the verge of
hell to the no.
Right? I mean, wouldn't you at some point say, maybe this isn't for me? Like, I know he's really into it, but maybe you shouldn't live up in a snowy cabin if you're constantly in peril of, dying in an avalanche or falling off a cliff while you're skiing, or getting trapped in a cave or something.
Absolutely. I mean, in Jake's defense, totally agree with you, but I think there were a couple episodes where they brought the Paw Patrol out there. I think there was the one to rescue penguins. They were tagging penguins. And then there was like the baby polar bear that got stuck on the iceberg, like out in the middle of nowhere. So they had to figure out how to get this polar bear back into its mother. So it was not Jake that caused the fuck up in that case. But yeah, I agree. He's probably out of all the adults, the one who doesn't behave as badly. So I can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about next, because I have a problem with quite a few of the adults in Adventure Bay.
All right, well, let's start at the top. The head honcho of Adventure Bay, and that is Mayor Goodway, who is always in a frazzle, always in trouble. She's, to me, is the Mrs. Teasley, who's the principal of West Bev, right down to the look. Always, never in control of anything. And she has a fucking pet chicken. Like who has a pet chicken? Chickaletta.
Chickaletta, buddy.
How did she, A, rise to power, B, maintain power, and C, not gain some kind of national headline that she relies solely on an army of pups and their maniacal billionaire child that runs the fucking legion of pups to completely run every aspect of her town? Because I don't know what she does besides feud with another mayor, like it's 1837, and and they're fighting over the gold rush or something. I assume that's what happened in those days. But what does she do besides fight with this mayor and fend him off, and then rely on dogs to do every first response, every mainly first response issues that come up, but in other calamities across the town are run by puppies and this one child. So how does she maintain power in this role, and how did she even get there? Did she payola someone? Did she buy the fucking town and make herself mayor? How does she get into this position?
Again, we're not going to get the backstory ever, just like we couldn't get with Ryder and the pups. But what bothers me about that, as I mentioned earlier, it's these adults portrayed to be just fucking buffoons and incompetent, lacking problem-solving skills. And, you could look back at some of the stuff we watched when we were growing. I mean, Saved by the Bell definitely had that with Mr. Belding. But yeah,
but he at least could solve problems, and he would be a steadying force. He was even Zach by the end looked at him as a father figure. No one's looking up to fucking Mayor Goodway as a mother figure. She's a train wreck. She's a shit show. She got stuck in a pile of snow with her chicken and needed a bunch of dogs to come save her because she didn't know what the hell she was doing. She needs dogs to train her for a race against a 70-year-old man. She's in this marathon against this old fucking loser, and she needs these dogs to train her for the race.
And that's maybe what we can start. They can start doing too is bringing some new adults into the picture. Maybe adults that actually have a little bit more sanity and their wits about them and their faculties about them. Because I actually think, and I'm being very, very serious when I say this, even though kids won't read into it like that, still, subconsciously, they're looking at these adults as definitely not authority figures, definitely not people who can handle themselves. And I think it does send a bad message. I know it's geared towards kids, but I think there needs to be a balance of adults who can function just as well, figure things out, maybe adults who can actually come and help the Paw Patrol. Because you start looking at stories like that, we infuse some more diversity into it, and it makes it a little bit more realistic. I'm not saying it needs to be totally realistic, but I think it would send kids different messages of positivity, I think, too. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt to have... I think Ryder is supposed to be playing that role in theory. I don't know if maybe kids will look up to him as more than just a kid. But yeah, they're basically always bailing out these dumb adults. Mayor Goodway is... her IQ must be 15. She really is one of the dumbest... adult, Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin level, just no clue how would she survive? She would probably die in a day if these puppies decided to move to another town. If they what's the other town?
Oh, fuck. Now we have to look that up. I'm
Yeah,
not
okay.
sure. The one with Mayor Humdinger?
Yeah, where's Mayor Humdinger's town?
You got to get that one's escaping me for the.
All right, we'll talk about Mayor Humdinger for a minute.
Okay, so Mayor Humdinger, as you said, is the mustache twirling villain. I guess our only antagonist in this show, I believe, buddy, right? And he's feuding with Mayor Goodway, and I'm going to let you talk about the Foggy Bottom, the mayor of Foggy Bottom, which in and of itself, of course, has like that sinister connotation to it. But I'm going to say he has an army of cats, and I'm going to hand it over to you because I know you wanted to say something about his cats, which are, go ahead.
That are like dressed up like the Paw Patrol because he's got this wicked obsession with Adventure Bay and the Paw Patrol. But yeah, Foggy Bottom definitely meant to be sinister, but they kind of followed the old trope of like, the other series I read a lot are Strawberry Shortcake for my daughter, and I have my wife's old book. So these are like from like the 70s and 80s, these books. And one of the tropes I think is you have like your levels of villain. So the mayor is like he's not a truly evil villain. He looks to screw things up and mess with Mayor Goodway and Adventure Bay, but they always save him in the end. Like, he's never evil enough for them to kill. And like that happened a lot in Strawberry Shortcake with like the Purple Pie Man. Like, they would never actually want to like rub him out. They'd always help him in the end and want to believe he'd change his ways. And it seems like they do the same thing. So it's like they don't they never like want to. They never eradicate Mayor Humdinger for all the nonsense he does, for all the chaos he causes with Mayor Goodway, who, I mean, if I were them, I'd want this guy out of there because she's already a friggin' train wreck, and they have to constantly come to her rescue. And this guy just exacerbates it. Like, he adds way more stress to their lives by constantly trolling and fucking with Mayor Goodway, who is on edge as it is. I mean, she is constantly living at the edge of a cliff. And, Humdinger's there every step of the way to screw with her. I look at her as the chick that Brandon slept with, that ended up, hang on, I'm getting my characters mixed up with. I'll say, actually, he's Kevin, the guy that married Dylan's sister's mother and stole his money, and they had to go chase after him. So that's who he is. But, again, these are getting looser. The main pups are really the main comparison. But, so, yeah, the cats, to me, you know my stance on cats for a long time. And I know cats have grown in popularity thanks to the internet and the things that they do in these memes and other pictures. But I think cats are pure evil. And it's not just from an allergy point of view. They literally personify the devil to me. And I think it's played out that the creators of the show felt the same way. The cats are evil. They're sneaky, they're shisty, and they live in Foggy Bottom and the depths of hell at the bottom of Adventure Bay underneath Niagara Falls with this fucking dipshit guy in a twirly mustache and a top hat that tries to be evil, but he sucks so bad that he can't even overcome Mayor Goodway, who's the biggest train wreck in the world. And if you really want to compare it to modern times, I mean, they're a perfect Clinton Trump too, right? Because they're both so inept that they couldn't overcome each other's faults, until one of them finally won by failing. So it's like, he failed less. So whatever, Mayor Goodway fails less every time than Mayor Humdinger, but they both suck at their jobs.
And I remember first watching this, and I was like trying to figure out, okay, why do they have to have two mayors? Why do they have to have this subplot where they have this feud? Here's this competent woman fighting with this guy who looks like an evil version of the Monopoly Man. But I don't really get that because I think that goes over kids' heads. But they needed an antagonist, so I can appreciate it on that front that we have an antagonist who you said is really always fucking with them, but he's not in every episode. And I think that's something else the show could use more antagonists integrated in, because didn't Strawberry Shortcake have a bunch? Yeah. I'm thinking of Rainbow Bright and all those things like My Little Pony. They all had different villains who came in periodically. Masters of the Universe. So it shook things up a little bit. It wasn't the same, again, formulaic episode every single time. So that's something I think they could do more of.
And since when do cities and towns feud? It's like, why would a mayor want to take out another mayor? I mean, it's just weird. It's like, unless we're just in some odd universe where there's some prize on the line for best town or best bay or best city. But all right, why don't we do this? I want to talk about the rest of these characters, but I also want to take a break because we're going to live watch an episode on the back half of the show. So what we're going to do with Don is we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. While that episode's playing, we'll talk about some of these other characters.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. All right, we'll be back right after this.
Voice of Ring of Honor's Kevin Kelly here. I just want to make sure you're all subscribed to all of our great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. Now, it's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search for and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, Place to Be Nation Pop feed, Pro Wrestling Only feed, and, of course, the Kevin Kelly Show feed, which includes the full archives of my podcast. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And, of course, as always, enjoy all the great action of Ring of Honor Wrestling and everything presented to you on PlaceToBeNation.com.
Do the pop-up boogie, do the pop-up boogie, do the pop-up boogie.
All right, Place to Be Nation, we are back here, episode number 1, the premiere PTBN DadCast. I am one of your co-hosts, JC Rozzero, along with my buddy, Don Carrara, and we are here talking Paw Patrol, kind of the bane of our father existence, but not really, because deep down we know there's a lot worse shows out there that we could be dealing with, like that loser, what the hell's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Caillou. That bitch, Caillou. All he does is piss and moan. He sucks.
Peppa Pig's kind of...
Yeah, Peppa's okay. That's at least like a little bit of humor in there. Yeah. Even what the
Max
hell?
and Ruby?
Yeah, Max and Ruby I don't care for. I don't like their dresses, so this is fucking weird. I don't like
How about Octonauts? Did she watch Octonauts?
she didn't really ever get into it. A little bit, but anyway, to me
Blaze?
Blaze.
But there's a character on that who reminds me of the mayor. He's always fucking stuff up, but he's not enough to like extradite him. So there might be another DadCast episode or something.
On Blaze, yeah. So, I mean, there were Barney, like shit like that. You know what I mean? Like there are worse fucking shows to deal with. So, Paw Patrol's not awful. So, we've talked a lot about the characters. We've talked about our qualms with the show in many ways. But what we're going to do now is we're going to watch one of these stories on episode number 1. It's called Pups Make a Splash. So, if you want to follow along with us, you can fire it up. But we're just going to watch the first story. We're going to kind of talk through it, but we're also going to talk about some of the additional characters that we haven't covered yet, a couple who are actually in this episode. So we're going to fire this up right now. We're crossing the bridge into Adventure Bay as we speak. Ryder's pressing the button. So this was the premiere. So they kind of dive right in, Don, with a pretty big story, and we're going to get introduced to some of the other characters. I'm curious if the mayor pops up in episode 1. I don't know if you've seen this one. Do you remember?
Oh, God. I don't know. I feel like I have seen the one with Captain Turbot's boat sinks, but doesn't his boat sink a couple times? So, I mean, that could just be a recycled storyline. Is this HD?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Did they even make it an SD?
They look a little different. I don't know.
Yeah. It might be the stream. I don't know. Anyway, we're streaming this to the Nick Jr. app. So, okay, here we go. We're through the opening credits, and there's the billboard. And Zuma, interestingly enough, is really the first featured pup. I mean, this is the episode number 1, and Rubble's the first one you see on screen. So it's interesting. You would think episode 1, you'd showcase maybe a Chase or a Marshall out of the gate, but my guess is Rubble does something stupid here, and then we get into it. And, of course, Sky is the second pup we see. So you mentioned Captain Turbot, Don. Tell me about Captain Turbot.
Well, Captain Turbot is another one of their friends, another adult who's always seems to be getting himself into a jam. He hangs out with a walrus named Wally. Right? And he likes to make a lot of friggin' different types of jams with, like, jellyfish. He's a fucking weirdo. And he has a cousin named Francois.
Now, see, I thought that was his boyfriend, but you're telling me it's his cousin?
It's his cousin, because in the episode where he introduces him, Sky actually has a crush on him, on Francois, just because he speaks French.
Okay.
And he's very elegant.
So Francois, to me, is like the cult leader that Kelly kind of half falls in love with. When she gets into that cult before the fire. So if you're telling me Sky has a thing for him. But he's the older man, like you said, the French accent. Come in my boat. As Dennis Reynolds always says, there's a lot of implications out on the seas when you're on a boat. So maybe she felt those implications, and she had a little thing with Francois. We're checking out all the backup characters. We got Rocky out of the gate here, too, who's, again, this plays to my David Silver theory, because he's with Sky in a bath. Like, they're in a dog grooming place. So he clearly is seen as a non-sexual entity. Like Kelly and David Silver were stepbrother and stepsister. So to me, she doesn't see him as any kind of threat, because she's letting him see her like in the bath and stuff.
Never looked that deep into that, but now I cannot unsee what you just told me. Okay, so
here's Captain Turbot.
Yep, here he is.
So what do they call him on? Are they all equipped with these phones? Or are they just FaceTiming? Is that what it is, I guess?
That's what it looks like to me. The FaceTime for the phones, and then then it turns around just like we turn our phones and the screen changes, and it becomes more like an iPad, also called the Pup Pad.
Yes, the Pup Pad. So Turbot, the idiot, who's out in the high seas for a living, continually crashes his boat, which I'm guessing is a tugboat. Turbot, tugboat. I mean, is that what it's supposed to be? Who the fuck knows? Turbo? I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Here it is. Ready? Listen to the Canadian part here. I don't know. He has...
To the lookout.
To the lookout. I'm going to boot.
So he is going to the lookout. So he presses a button on his little phone thing he has like a 2005 that this pad is also turns into 2005 like Sidekick. So he pulls out the side and presses a button that activates an emblem on all of the pups' necklace or dog collars. And they all say at the same time, Ryder needs us. And that's how they get activated. And they all run to the lookout and they go up the elevator. But the hook is that Marshall, the klutz, who's flirting right now. You see it right there?
I did. I saw it.
He's flirting with Skye, and Chase is sitting on both of them, like with this guy's an idiot kind of smirk. So they're already teasing the love triangle in episode 1. But Marshall's hook is that he always fucks up coming into the elevator. Like he either rolls in on a ball or he gets rolled up in a thing of snow, and he tumbles, and they all get screwed up in the elevator. And then they ride up, and they stop halfway through. The emblem flashes, and they all are dressed and ready to go. So now they meet Ryder in the lookout. What's happening here?
Let's see. Well, Captain Turbot, his boat, as Justin mentioned earlier, surprise, surprise, has crashed. It looks like into a rock. So Ryder's giving him the breakdown of what they're going to have to do up on the screen, like you talked about earlier. The Steven Spielberg Minority Report screen over here.
But like, what technology does he use to illustrate this thing? You know what I mean? It's like, look at it. He's literally illustrating what they're gonna do. Like, and I get that he has to really show it to the pups to understand. But how does he come?
They must be visual learners,
right? But when did he create these slides? Like, you know how long it takes me to make a PowerPoint at work? Look at this motherfucker is creating like these animated slides within like 3 minutes.
That image they just showed actually from the top viewpoint actually looked like when you're in some of the worlds in Mario. There was like the map to go to the boat, to the next level, and they're sliding down the slides, going right into their respective modes of transportation.
And now this is the genius, because this is where the toys are sold. Because so they come sliding down the slide, and there's a rotating platform at the bottom that brings up the respective car of who's coming down the slide. And as they hit the car, we go to a cutaway screen where they illustrate the dog going into the car, the belt buckle buckling, the car turning around, so you see it from all sides, transforming like a Transformer vehicle. And this is how they really sell the toy. Like, they get over the emblem of each pup, they get over what each car does. Like to me, this is where they hard sell everything. And I had no clue that they opened this show with a Zuma and Skye as the focused characters. Are you surprised that Chase is not? I mean, does this discredit everything we've talked about?
Well, just like any pilot or first episode, when you look back, things are always different. I mean, even their voices just sounded different to me. And I wonder if they were just trying to kind of feel out, characters that work. It makes me actually think, I know people have issues with it. I don't watch it religiously, but Big Bang Theory was marketed around Johnny Galecki, the kid from Roseanne, as character, and then Jim Parsons really took off. So now he's at the forefront of the episode. And I wonder, maybe they didn't know who was going to be the leader, and they kind of wanted to do that for test audiences and see where it goes.
Zuma was going to be the leader, though. I mean, they're not going to have a guy in a boat, because if he's the lead guy, you're going to have to make every story in the water. You know what I mean? So maybe just they were trying to mix it up out of the gate. Maybe episode or whatever, part 2 of this episode is more focused around around the land. Maybe they were trying to get everyone some shine in this first one. So it's just interesting to me. But I don't think Zuma could have ever been seen as the main pup, just because they wouldn't want to always be in the water.
No, that's a good point. And even thinking about too, like when you said, "Hey, we wanted to have everybody shine in this episode," it does contrast to what we talked about earlier, because in the later episodes, you're absolutely right that Chase is at front and center every single time. He's always the one in charge for the most part. I would say Skye, has that significant role too, as you mentioned, Marshall. Where in this, so far, we haven't really seen anything regarding Chase or Rubble, significant characters we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. So,
Right, and I mean, Rubble was at least in that opening scene where he was the first one we see riding on the skateboard or whatever. But I mean, Chase, we've really barely seen any of in this episode. So, all right, so Turbot's stuck between the rocks. They're tying him up with rope, and Ryder's car, by the way, we didn't mention, Ryder rides on a four-wheeler that apparently transforms into a water motion vehicle as well, because he's now in the water on his four-wheeler. And him and Zuma are pulling Captain Turbot free while Sky patrols the skies above. But we have a hole in the tugboat here.
We do. They have to add yet another conflict into this. And if we can just go back into Ryder's ATV here, transform as like one of the duck boats in Boston or something like this. But it comes back to something earlier you said as well. Is this the drug syndicate here? Look at this vehicle. Right. What kid, 12 to 14, that's the age we're going with again, has this? I know this is better than my car. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's absurd. It's got to come from somewhere. I mean, does he have, like... I feel like he built this town to live out, like, a billionaire's fantasy. Like, he is, like... He had money to blow. He's a rich kid, and he set up this town, or his parents bought him this town to be his own personal playland. Like, that's all I could think of. Like, why would these adults be so subservient to these dogs? Like, why would you live here if you were this captain, if you're going to rely on puppies to save your life constantly? And how much coke is probably under that in the boat, and that's why they're trying to fix the hole.
And now my mind's wandering and thinking about, does he have this disconnect from his parents? So he's allowed to live in this lap of luxury, but really he's this repressed individual who's trying to live out his dream, as you mentioned, and save the other adults because he's unable to save his parents. Wouldn't this be great, like when the series comes to an end, if we found that out, or he wakes up and it's one of those cliched, it's all been a dream or it's all been a fantasy, and really these are he actually has dogs in his house. They don't fucking talk, but this is how he wants to see the world, and that could be kind of interesting.
So maybe he's like in a trailer and he's a loser, like, and the dogs just like are mutts that roam around the trailer park, and this is his escape. And like this is how he gets he imagines all this is his escape.
This is how my life should have been.
like Rocky literally lives in a fucking recycling bin. I mean, like that's where he obviously is. And like Rubble lives in a big mound of dirt outside the trailer park. Like that's how he knows them all. Marshall was like burnt in a fire. Like that's how that's how
he drowned Zuma.
Right.
This is we don't condone this. We're just saying, hey, this is our adult minds.
Well, if they're not going to tell us where we're going to have to come up with it ourselves.
Oh, they're patching up the boat.
Right, of course, because they can all they all know how to scuba dive. And I didn't know dogs could go underwater for a long amount of time. I'm not a dog owner, Don. You are. Are they allowed to submerge underwater?
My dog has never been underwater in her entire life. She's a good swimmer. She jumped in actually in Vermont for the first time several years ago. And that's the only actual time I've seen her swim. I think she fucking hates the water, but these dogs, they love it.
Well, Zuma he dove down to the bottom of the ocean to fix a boat. So he obviously is well versed in swimming. I don't know. Maybe it's Michael Phelps' dog or something. So is there any other characters? We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. Is there any other characters you wanted to cover off on that we didn't get to touch on?
Yes, Mr. Porter.
Yes, sorry. Talk about Mr. Porter.
Another fucking douchebag. He's Alex. Alex is a friend of Ryder's. A little bit younger. I would say Alex is probably around like the 7-year-old or so. And Mr. Porter's his grandfather, also complete moron. And they've had to save him several times. I think there's that time they're going up and they get stuck on the mountain because it's icy. And then there's the time Mr. Porter gets his fat ass stuck in the tree trunk, like the exposed trunk that's on the ground there, and they have to come and get him out of that. And I think after that is when he gets sprayed by the skunk in the same episode. So yet again, another adult who can't get out of his own way, much like Mayor Goodway. Not as bad, but I'd put him up there too as one of my tops.
Well, hopefully he'll break his hip sometime. Next time he falls, we don't have to worry about him anymore. So we have one of the cats here in the dog grooming place, or I guess in the pet grooming place, is Rocky's taking a bath. So were the cats not all evil? Was that a different cat? Because it looked like one of the cats with Mayor Humdinger.
No, that was a separate cat to the groom. I can't recall her name, but she's an ally. So the cat is also portrayed to be evil within the salon there, right, but definitely not one of...
They're all evil.
I know, the den of sin, buddy, right? Yeah. But it's not one of Mayor Humdinger's cohort of cats there.
All right, so we're into episode or part 2 of the episode here. Farmer Yumi is having a fall festival, and now we're seeing Chase and Marshall being the showcase pups here. So we're not going to watch this episode. I think we've had enough. So we had one mailbag question, and going forward with this series, I will be posting and asking on social media 4 questions from our good friend Nikki George. She says, "What kind of budget does Ryder have?" I'm guessing it's unlimited. It has to be unlimited.
It's absolutely unlimited, because these gadgets that constantly come about in every single episode, like we know the vehicles and the modes of transportation, the transformers, whatever you want to call them. But I feel every other episode too that there's something that is discovered that they're able to do, or that her Sky's plane, helicopter does. The ATV does something different, So where is he getting this? What's going on here? I mean, is this just like royalties from saving the town? So it's kind of this unlimited budget because he's good friends with the mayor. Who the hell knows, right?
All right. So Nikki also asked, "What are Adventure Bay's natural resources?" I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what powers anything. Like, is there a power plant somewhere? Is it all solar power? Is it water powered? We are on the water. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue what the hell runs this town.
I feel like this would be a town where you see a lot of wind turbines.
Yeah, I guess so.
But again, let's get some realism in. I like what she's asking there because we're trying to look at the logic behind this. And I still hold true to this, that we need some of that realism in there, because when kids start getting older, they're going to start looking at the plot holes in this. And why not introduce some of that? Keep it fantasy, but put some realism in there every now and then.
I mean, I guess the good for them is they're going to be millionaires by the time the kids figure this shit out. So the first wave of kids that are watching this show. And then finally she asks, what is her salary, Mayor Goodway, that she can afford a purse chicken? I'm guessing one of 2 things. Either this is all made up and Ryder set this up and he's paid, these people are on the salary, and he said, pick an animal and you can have it. Or she stole the fucking chicken. I mean, that's my guess, is that she stole the chicken and hides it in her purse and pretends it's her pet, because she's clearly fucking delusional. And I'm surprised that she even knows it's a chicken and that she doesn't think it's like a dog or a person, because that's how out to lunch she is.
And that's the part that always confused me of I never understood the reasoning behind why she carries this fucking chicken in her purse and her pocketbook. And the chicken also gets her into several jams too, right? Doesn't the chicken get trapped up on top of the barn? So she has to, and I just, by proxy, she's part of that. I blame her because she's fucking lost it.
She's a fucking enabler. All right, so I want to wrap up with this note here from our buddy Steve Piscatello. Says, I find it interesting that talking dogs are reality in this world. So there's a need to make Rubble dream incredible fantasies. Dude, you're a talking dog. You are the fantasy. Steve, I think that sums up some of the issues with the show perfectly. At the end of the day, I do think it's I think it's a quality kids program. I know we poked a lot of holes and a lot of fun out of here. Again, as far as a tolerance level as a parent, I can take it as like a 7 or 8. Like, I don't mind. Like, it takes watching a lot of them to really put me over the edge. I think there's enough there to where you can kind of tune in and out and not get too annoyed. There's a lot of fun stuff like this to comment about. So there's a lot going on. Kudos to the creators. They're making a mint off this idea. And again, it could be worse. What are your final thoughts on the show?
Just so I can take some of my negativity and bring it back to being positive. I think there are definitely good messages behind it. They are all adorable animals. And even thinking about, I know we poke some fun about Rocky, but my daughter has actually quoted some of his things about recycling and has learned about recycling from that. So there are teachable moments. Yeah. And, she learned about the fire safety in that whole episode, which I actually thought was educational, where they all worked together to help Alex get that badge, and then a real fire broke out and he knew what to do. I like that because it was different tonality than any of the other ones. It wasn't really them. We didn't really see them trying to help a big problem, but really assist in helping somebody reach a goal. So there are those episodes. I just wish there were more of those that had those lessons. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, but they may come. I mean, it's picked up, I think, for more seasons. And there's already apparently 3 of them out there. When you live in an on-demand world like I do, you just kind of lose track of what's what. They're all there. All right, so I hope everyone enjoyed episode 1 of the DadCast. I don't think we'll have any kind of set schedule. So just, if you liked it, subscribe to the PTBN Place to Be Nation pop feed on iTunes. We have a few different feeds, but you can follow us on social media at facebook.com/Place to Be Nation, on Twitter at Place2BNation, or you can email us as well, info@placetobenation.com. So if you have any questions or feedback on the show, just let us know on social media. And then also keep an eye out for any future episode mailbag posts as well if you want to get your question asked and answered. So Don, I hope you had a great time. I hope you'll be back with us someday soon.
It was awesome, buddy. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to coming back and talking some more on the DadCast.
All right. So, again, if you have topics for us as well, let us know there too. So for Don, I'm JT. We're out. We'll talk to you soon. Everyone enjoy. Ryder needs us.